Chancellor, once upon a time in Ireland, there lived a little family of 5. Dad, a chemical engineer, Mum, an art teacher, and the 3 children looked much like everyone else around. But something was different. Their food, for example, was uncommonly spicy, and they regularly hosted unusually lively gatherings with strange, exotic music, often featuring metal drums. Some neighbors even claimed that the music made references to cannibalism, obeah men, and loose women with names like Jean and Dinah, Rosita and Clementina. They blamed the mother. She was from Trinidad, and apparently she couldn't help it. On the plus side, she was wonderful with people and passionate about her children's education. To everyone's delight, despite their mother's peculiar habits and their very unusual upbringing, the children turned out quite well. One of those children, Professor Dermot Kelleher, stands before us today an extraordinary scientist and clinician, renowned for his pioneering research, transformative medical leadership, innovation, and entrepreneurship. He is a Fellow of the Academy of Medical Sciences and Royal College of Physicians, London, and of Trinity College, Dublin, and the American Gastroenterology Association. He was also the 2011 recipient of the prestigious Conway Medal from the Royal Academy of Medicine, Ireland. Dr. Kelleher gained first-class honors in medicine at Trinity College, Dublin in 1978, a rare feat at the time. Inspired by his mentor, Professor Donald Ware, he specialized in gastroenterology, training first in Dublin and then as a 1986 Fogarty Scholar at the University of California. In 1989, he returned to Trinity College as a welcome senior fellow in clinical science, earning his MD in 1994. 7 years later, he was appointed to the Trinity College Chair in Clinical Medicine. Dr. Kelleher's research, which has generated over 300 publications to date, has focused on mechanisms underlying inflammatory diseases of the gastrointestinal tract. Innovation, entrepreneurship, and the ability to move basic research findings from the laboratory bench to the bedside have been hallmarks of his career. For example, his identification of mechanisms by which Helicobacter pylori, a major cause of ulcers, protects itself from the immune system, led to an effective vaccine licensed to the Chiron Corporation. He has patented inventions in the areas of diagnostics, drugs, and nanofluidics through spin-out companies. These include Opsona Therapeutics, for which he was co-founder, which develops drugs and vaccines, Dirac Fluidics, now merged with LabSite and Celix, both global leaders in micro and nanoliter liquid handling systems for the life sciences industries. Dr. Kelleher has repeatedly demonstrated that the key to accelerating this so-called translational research is working in multidisciplinary settings, and he was central to the creation of a number of institutes and networks that bring together engineers, physicists, chemists, biologists, and academic clinicians. These include the Institute of Molecular Medicine at Trinity College, Dublin, the Wellcome Trust HRB Clinical Research Facility at Trinity College, Dublin and St. James Hospital, and the new medical school building as part of the Trinity Biomedical Sciences Institute. He was also one of the co-founders of the Dublin Molecular Medicine Centre, which led to the creation of Molecular Medicine Ireland, a consortium of Irish universities and their associated academic hospitals. Like his mentor, Dr. Kelleher combines excellent medical research and practice with great leadership. He is currently Dean of the Faculty of Medical Sciences and Vice President for Health at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada. His previous roles include serving as head of the School of Medicine and Vice Provost for Medical Affairs at Trinity College Dublin, Director at Adelaide and Meath Hospital in Dublin, and more recently, Dean of the Faculty of Medicine at Imperial College London and Dean of the Lee Kong Chian School of Medicine in Singapore. Chancellor, being a successful dean is a noteworthy achievement, but Dr. Kelleher is clearly a bit of an overachiever. He was Dean of Imperial College and the Lee Kong Chian simultaneously on 2 continents. Furthermore, during his tenure, he oversaw the renewal of Imperial's designation as one of only 5 academic health sciences centers in the UK, and led the teams that secured Imperial College's highest ever ranking in the Research Excellence Framework. Dr. Kelleher is also a member of the London Health Commission and has founding membership of MedCity, a collaboration between the Mayor of London, Imperial College, King's College, and University College London, aimed at promoting life sciences investment, entrepreneurship, and industry. He has served as president of the Federation of European Academies of Medicine and is a non-executive director of ICON plc, one of the leading global clinical research organizations. On top of all this, Dr. Kelleher fancies himself as a premier footballer, having represented Ireland in the 2015 and 2016 World Medical Football Federation Championships. He has not yet scored a winning goal, but I have no doubt that he will get there. After all, his motto is, "Never take no for an answer." By this, he doesn't persist by banging his head against walls. Instead, he finds creative ways around them. So, when his Irish Medical Federation football team no longer wanted him, he just joined the Masters team. Dr. Kelleher recognizes that having a great team is key to success. And in addition to his many collaborators, he credits his wife, Jean, his children, the Fagenbaums, and the rest of his Trini family for their unwavering support, and last but not least, all the spicy food, tropical music, patience, kindness, and love from his inspirational Trini mother. Chancellor, I present Professor Dermot Kelleher and ask that by the authority vested in you by the Council and Senate of the University of the West Indies, you confer on him the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa.
By the authority vested in me by the Senate and Council of the University of the West Indies, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa of the University of the West Indies. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I now call on Professor Dermot Kelleher to deliver the graduation address.
Chancellor, Mr. Robert Bermudez, Vice-Chancellor, Sir Hilary Beckles, Principal and Pro-Vice Chancellor, Professor Brian Copeland, other campus principals and Pro-Vice Chancellors, the University Orator, Professor Carrington, members of the University of the West Indies Senior Management Team, graduates and guests. And among those guests, I'd like to particularly welcome my family, my wife Jean, my cousins Paul, Bruce and Wayne, and my Aunt Brenda, who it's wonderful to see here today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm currently the Dean of the Medical Faculty and Vice President for Health at the University of the British Columbia. But it's a wonderful honour to be here today and to be conferred with an honorary doctorate by the University of the West Indies, a university that's now celebrating its 70th year. I was born in the UK, as Professor Carrington has said, to an Irish father and a Trinidadian mother, Phyllis Kelman. But I grew up and spent most of my life in Ireland, in a small town by the sea called Greystones, just south of Dublin. I went to public schooling, initially in a class of 55 kids, where me and my siblings stood out for a number of reasons. Firstly, as Professor Carrington has said, we ate different food. We ate curry and rice, and at that time in Ireland, people only ate rice as rice pudding for dessert. Secondly, my mother would also occasionally find mangoes and other exotic fruits, and we all look forward to Christmas, particularly for garlic pork and the black cake that would arrive in a tin from Trinidad. It would take about 60 days to get there, so it was absolutely delicious by the time it came. The second area that stood out for us as children was music, because we listened to steel pan music, as we heard already today, and we also listened particularly to the Mighty Sparrow on a big old gramophone at home, often at very loud volumes. I suspect that my mother was just like your mothers. She was absolutely convinced of the value of education. And along the way, I went from this class of 55 kids in a public school, where many of my classmates left school at 14 and did not continue education, to a class of about 30 in high school, and then on to studying medicine in a small class of about 64 at the 400-year-old, very ancient university, Trinity College Dublin. What an amazing place. And within our overall family, there are a few other health representatives. My cousin Paul studied dentistry and practices in Trinidad. His two brothers are orthopedic surgeons, and his sister studied nursing. And there are other people who are in the health professions in the family, including a few medics in the next generation, including my own son, Sean. But one of the most transformational events in my life occurred when my Trinidadian cousin, David, who's a surgeon, and his late wife, Anne-Marie, invited me to do an elective at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, a place where I truly discovered the academic method of questioning and researching all that you do, using the literature and evidence to determine what is best for your patients, a process of constant questioning. I returned then to Trinity College in Dublin to finish my final year in medical school with a very different approach, one that saw me taking out a bunch of subscription to medical journals, one that had me reading the literature continually, and one which eventually led me to this academic life. That principle of lifelong learning, we didn't call it that back then, but that was essentially what I started upon at that time. So my first message to you all as a graduating class is to always remember and be proud of where you come from. The kids in my junior school that I attended who left school at 14 still haunt my memories. I know that some of them could have done what I've done if they had the opportunities. You all have had the most wonderful gift from your parents and from the University of the West Indies, the gift of education, and most importantly, an education in the biomedical sciences. Medicine, dentistry, veterinary, optometry, whichever, nursing, whichever you are studying, this is the most important gift. And what is it about studying medicine and other health disciplines? Well, these are truly the most magical of professions. This is a life where no 2 days in your future are going to be the same, where every day when you wake up, you know that your life is dedicated to improving the life of others. And nothing can be better than that. It's a life where knowledge, intuition, and compassion combine. None of these are sufficient in themselves. Most importantly, it's a life of constant questioning. You may be fortunate to get the opportunity to ask questions through research, and indeed some of you have already had that opportunity. This is truly wonderful. But you won't do badly if every day, when you see your patients, you constantly question why this case is different from the last case you saw, how the patient's social status is influencing their disease, why this patient and their sibling have the same unusual cardiac arrhythmia or rash or other syndrome. Keep questioning. And I'm including veterinary students in this particular point as well. The critical importance of continually questioning what you see, because you never know when what you see in your clinic, in your practice, may be something that may be of importance to the world. I've been very fortunate to have pursued an academic medical career that has combined laboratory and clinical research. As Professor Carrington has said, I had an outstanding mentor, Professor Donald Weir, early in my career, who was a good friend of a Trinidadian physician called Courtney Bartholomew, by the way. And but he took a keen interest in my development, and I went from Dublin then to San Diego and back again, became the professor of medicine, the head of school at Trinity, and finally, after all of the machinations that Professor Carrington has noted, I became Dean at University of British Columbia. But in my last year at Trinity College, we celebrated the medical school's 300-year anniversary. And that 300-year anniversary was based on a date in 1711 where the professors at the time met in a coffee shop in Dublin. 1711. Who knew that there were coffee shops around in 1711? But there were apparently a lot of coffee shops in Dublin. And at that meeting, they decided on the standards for the examinations of medical students, the same kind of process that goes on today. And that brought home to me, that 300-year anniversary, the fact that we are all standing on the shoulders of giants, that knowledge and experience are passed on continually, and that in all of our health domains, we have an extraordinary and unique opportunity to pass on the knowledge that we gain. That's a unique connection to the past. And when you think about it, it goes back to all those wonderful words of Hippocrates and others and beyond. We're connected to that continuing lifelong tradition. Along the way, I've had the opportunity to work with so many wonderful people, to ask fundamental research questions, and most importantly, to see students graduate in 3 different continents, and to reflect on the fundamental basis of my life experience. And that is, put simply, that my Trinidadian mother's belief that education was the greatest gift that a parent can bestow. She would be so pleased today to witness this wonderful occasion. So I ask you, as graduates, to applaud your parents, your grandparents, and your families. Remember, throughout your lives, that it's because of them that you are what you are and where you are, and right now, it's here receiving your degrees. So I think Honoraries. And later, when all this fuss is over, just have a quiet chat and thank them personally. Please do, for this wonderful gift that they've given you. And I know that up there, the parents are thinking, now, they're off the payroll. And as the father of a recent medical graduate, I can say, dream on. There's a quote that's sometimes wrongly attributed to the Irish poet Yeats, but really goes back to ancient Rome, which is that education is not the filling of a bucket, but it's the lighting of a flame. I've always loved this quote because it speaks to the power of knowledge and to the importance of those that impart it with passion and enthusiasm. Your teachers and your mentors here at this wonderful university who have brought you here today and have launched you on this springboard of this exciting life. Studying medicine and the biomedical sciences has always had 2 sides to it. Firstly, as the Chancellor has said, I think you'll agree that there's a lot of hard work. But secondly, and this may be a secret to your parents and families, biomedical students always seem to have a lot of fun in their journey through the university and beyond. And part of that fun, for me, as a young man, was listening to the music of Winston Bailey, The Mighty Shadow. Whenever we put his music on the turntable in Dublin, everyone would start to dance. And I was very excited to hear that I would have the opportunity to meet with him today, and very saddened by his passing. So can I say thank you to the Mighty Shadow, Winston Bailey, for some very happy times, and may he rest in peace. So lastly, today, after you're celebrating all that you've achieved, after you throw your hats in the air, I'd like to ask you also to reflect and look back on what inspired you and what brought you here today. Maybe you were inspired by a physician, or a nurse, or a vet, or a dentist, or any other health professional, or a patient, or sometimes by a family member who is ill. But no matter who or what ultimately compelled you to embark on this journey, you did so because you were inspired to serve and to care. And this journey is never about you. It's always about serving others. As we look ahead, we must consider first and foremost our capacity to positively impact our patients, and then our capacity to impact on society. This contract with society that we espouse as health professionals is a living contract. It's intended to remind us that every day as educators, researchers and professionals, we serve the people of our communities and indeed the world. And so, as you transition to become practicing professionals in whichever discipline you choose, pause often to acknowledge that with this graduation in honor comes a graduation in responsibility. You must always put the patient first in all that you do in that most respectful way, and that applies to all health disciplines. You continue to build on your skills, to acquire new knowledge, and remember to serve as a true mentor to the students who come after you. That's a principle that goes back to Hippocrates and beyond. As the Chancellor said, keep your sense of curiosity, keep asking questions. Above all, be driven by that larger commitment to contribute to your field and to society as a whole. To wherever your journey as a health professional takes you, I wish you all the best on the road ahead, and my deepest congratulations. You have chosen to work in the most fulfilling professions of all. Thank you very much indeed.